Alright, the Reds, it's the Anfield Wrap in association with The Athletic, and I've got Mike Kearney, Paul Senior and Andy Heaton with me, Gareth Roberts, to talk about the Reds winning 3-2 against West Ham United last night at Anfield. I'm going to start by just mentioning some commentary. So I was at the match, but I've watched the highlights and I've seen Martin Tyler and I've seen how made up he was by West Ham going ahead and, you know, pulling out his big lines for West Ham being ahead. Well, sorry, Martin, we went on to win, mate. And I prefer some other commentary that I saw this morning from Peter Drury, who's brilliant, by the way. And he said, he describes when Sadio Mane scores, sheer force of will, bloody-minded red desire. That's the stuff that we want to hear. That's the stuff that we want to hear when we listen to commentary. You know what I mean, Martin? Any chance, lad? But Liverpool are record-breaking Reds, and they've broke yet more records. You probably know by now, but they're worth repeating. Liverpool have won their past 21 home Premier League games, equaling the English top-flight record for consecutive home wins, set by the Reds themselves between January and December 1972 under Bill Shankly. We've obviously equalled Man City's record in terms of consecutive wins there as well. We've now got as many points, 79, as Man United's treble-winning team in 98-99, so, you know, they're shit. And we've won as many games in the league, 26, as Arsenal's Invincibles in 2003-04, which I really enjoyed pointing out to Sam in the office this morning. But Paul, this was a weird game, wasn't it, really? It didn't go to script, did it? I mean, I think you have like an internal monologue, or I certainly do, where you're like, okay, it's West Ham, it's David Moyes. David Moyes always shits the bed at Anfield. We beat West Ham the other week. We're brilliant. We're breaking all these records. This is going to be a piece of piss. And then it didn't quite turn out like that.
Yeah, it wasn't what I expected in terms of going the game. I think even looking at the highlights back yesterday, Martin, Neville was saying all he wanted to see from West Ham was someone to give us a game, and I think they more than gave us a game. But it didn't disappoint me. But it wasn't Liverpool at their best last night. It was more. I think Moyes, in fairness to him, identified a weakness in Liverpool in terms of like from set pieces trying to attack the front post, and he got some joy with it. And it's something that we've seen sort of creep in since we've come back from this winter break. But yeah, I expected a walk in the park for Liverpool last night, because what I seen at West Ham when I went to the away game, which was only a few weeks ago, was a team with no heart, no fight, no desire, not working for the manager, a fan base that is obviously hugely disgruntled, and probably rightly so. And last night I seen the opposite. So if I was a West Ham fan, I'd be taking some positives of it, because I was seeing some of their quotes about the Manchester United game and saying like we've gone to Old Trafford just with nothing, and I think they went to Anfield with something. That being said, Liverpool in the way we've been in 2019-20, just find a way to win. Patient, I think would be something that I would say about Liverpool last night. They had tons of patience in terms of they didn't rush it. They weren't taking pot shots. They found a way to win. Oxlade-Chamberlain comes off the bench and puts some drive into midfield that we needed, and we get the result we need again. Absolutely.
And Mike, 16th time a side managed by David Moyes hasn't managed a victory at Anfield. He's lost 9 and drawn 7. But Paul's right, isn't he? In that we expected something from West Ham. Even if you watch West Ham against Man City, fuck all from them really, if we're all being honest. When we played them away, again they looked like a team that were beaten, that were in the relegation zone, and yet they turned up at Anfield last night and almost played it like a cup final. Like it reminds me a little bit of when we went to Newcastle, and you were like, Newcastle had nothing to play for particularly, and yet they gave everything, and you're getting stuck in, and you were like, what have we done to you? I remember Klopp talking about it, saying like, people talk about tough games in the Premier League, and you'll pull out like the big names and the clubs at the top of the league, and yet all of a sudden something will come up like this. Like, where's that West Ham performance come from? And yet Paul's right, we react to it though. We still find a way. Trent, I think, is obviously
I was nearly right. I did say Man United, not Man City.
but Trent's central to it, and we do find a way. But it's proof as well, isn't it? I think that all this nonsense about it's a poor league this season and things like that. teams can pull performances out the bag. I mean, you wouldn't be surprised if Watford did the same at the weekend.
West Ham was mad because they had us and City back to back, and they sort of treated us more of a free hit than what they did City, even though they were both away, weren't they? It was at the Etihad, and they sort of lost to a Man City team who can be got at this season. Literally loads of teams have done it. They lost 2-0, and like one was a bit of a scrappy goal, another one was like a good finish from De Bruyne, and they probably walked out that thinking, you know what, next week at Anfield we just give it a go. We might as well lose as they did 3-2 or any other scoreline, having a little bit of a go and inserting themselves in the game a bit more than what they did against City, than just losing 2-0 again, keeping the goal difference down. I think the best thing that I took from last night is, and you've seen it for months now under this Liverpool side, Klopp is the mentality monsters. He's big on that, and it's not just a cheesy phrase. It's with it. It's like ingrained in this team where they've probably got an agreement between all of them, including the squad players. Look, we won't give excuses any chance of that's what we can hang our hat on. That's the excuse. The referee, bounce of the ball. The team's getting more decisions than us. Teams having, like as I said before, they bounce the ball, they run the ball more than us. West Ham seems to be getting the 50-50s and the bounces last night. And then at some point you just think, right, well, they're fine. You can have them excuses, or you can just dig deep, give it your best. We're on this mad run now. They said 21 home games at Anfield, consecutive wins, 18 in the league this season, consecutively won. That's why we are where we are. We've won a lot. I think I seen a stat last night. It's 13 or 14 games by one goal. It's no coincidence that we will absolutely dominate games and see them out 1-0 if we have to, 2-1 if we have to, or we'll scrap like we did last night. And even though it was a scrappy game, at 1-1, we still have a few chances. Firmino has a chance, puts it over the bar. Van Dijk hits the bar. Sen should probably score when he puts it wide. He does well to get there and just puts it wide. And then second half starts, 1-1 still. Firmino has a chance just after the break. But then when they go 2-1 up, there's no sign of quit. There's no sign of rolling over and we'll just accept this and let's be sorry for ourselves. When we might have seen that in the past from Liverpool sides the whole decade. You can point back to even before the early 2000s and stuff. There's definite occasions where you'd say, it's just 2-1 today, or we'll take a 2-2. At 2-1 yesterday, there was no points. I thought David Moyes is going to beat us. This West Ham team is going to beat us. I thought we'd get back. And the fact that we did, and we left it with half an hour to go, you could sense in the ground because the crowd proper switch on at 2-1. And then that was like, right, well, it's been this now. We've got half an hour. We've got 15 points to win. We've got half an hour left in this game to influence the players. And the players thought, right, that's it. We'll just go. And if we do get beat or we do draw, because chances are we will at some point this season, because it's the law of averages, isn't it? People have been thinking last night, get in, they've lost or they've drawn. And absolutely none of it. The players just got their heads down, battled through, deserved to win, in my opinion.
Yeah, they did deserve it in the end, didn't they, Andy? And, all the stats point to that as well. Obviously 70% near enough off the ball, 25 shots, 16 corners. There was a little bit of it where I thought it felt like throwback Liverpool, like Mike's hinting at, sort of days where you've watched games and, like, you could say, I mean, their goalkeeper obviously throws 2 in, which isn't great. Alisson probably look at himself on one of their goals. their other goal, by the way, I thought was a good goal and a good move and a good finish. But I seen a tweet there from Van Dijk, and he says, take nothing for granted. Now, I might be reading something into that, but I thought in the ground, and coupled with that tweet, there was a bit of fucking moaning, to be honest. And there was a bit of sort of like reverting to like the old crowd, and I thought, what are you up to here? Like, I read out at the top all the things that we've done so well this season. We're finally going to end that drought of 3 decades waiting for this league title. And there's our asses in the ground last night having a pop. And Mike's right, they woke up at 2-1 and they did the business then. But for me, it was a little bit disappointing in the lead up to that.
It's a little bit weird. I think we're in uncharted territory. I think it's fair to say. I think it comes off the back of the Atletico Madrid results as well, where your natural response, you'd think against a David Moyes, any David Moyes team would just go out and blather them, and I think that was the expectation. And when that didn't happen early doors, it did creep in a little bit, and I sensed that on the cop. I don't know where you were sat last night, but I had that on the cop, and you'd always have. I mean, I can only presume it was a professional football manager behind me because he knew everything. He was like literally just every pass, everything that went wrong, everything went missing, or everything that wasn't quite there. You know, he was bawling at them as if they weren't trying, like they were somehow doing it deliberately. And then, I know it's one of Klopp's bugbears, but it was windy as fuck yesterday as well. And that does affect the game. But, I mean, as you said, you look at the stats and they bear it all out. And I know it's on a topic because the boxing this week, but it was like a box match in so much as they scored one goal that Alisson should have done better with and scored another good goal. And it was almost like two good punches in a match that had been dominated by...
And Antonio looks like a boxer.
Well, I mean... but Liverpool dragged themselves off the canvas and they showed the class in the end. And the most encouraging thing for me when it went 2-1 to West Ham is just the relentlessness. And I know we keep coming back to this word, the relentlessness. And, you know, we weren't trying the pot shots, we were patient, but we were banging the door down. And with every moment, and I know it's a cliche to say, oh, a goal's coming. But you could sense that. And it's the effect that has on the opposition. To go back to the boxing analogy, it's like you've got someone in the corner and it might not be the best thing that throws them down. It's just the constant banging and knocking the wind out of the sails and knocking the stuffing out of them. I think that's what Liverpool did. And, all right, fair enough, you could say we got maybe a touch lucky with the break of the ball for Mane's for the winner. But I'm absolutely convinced that had we not scored that, we would have scored another one. Anyway,
chasing that in though, isn't he?
Yeah.
Tense there for the break of the ball.
Yeah, but it's a character to respond. The one thing this Liverpool side does not do is feel sorry for itself. And I think that's the major... You mentioned before that it was kind of hark back to previous years. But previous years we would have felt sorry for ourselves. And
previous years it would have been a draw.
Yeah, it would have been a draw. And it would have been the attitude that even if we're in this position, oh, well, yeah, we can afford to throw this one in. But the mentality of this team, we're 22 points clear. We could have lost that game, still be 19 points clear. But we're not having it.
Yeah,
we're not having it.
You find new things, don't you, watching this Liverpool team? Because you win, you quickly become accustomed to winning every week, and that's a strange thing to say because I've had 25, 30 years of it not being that case. But this season you go, okay, we win. Yeah, we'll win. But you start taking new things from it. And the thing I take from sort of last night is sort of how Liverpool are now self-policing themselves. I think it must be a joy as a coach at the level of Klopp where he doesn't have to scream and shout on the touchline and he's not as animated as he used to be because the 11 lads on the pitch, or at least the majority of them, are managing their own expectations of each other. So if a standard drops somewhere, there's 10 other lads jumping on you. If it's you get an eyeball by one of your teammates. And I felt I thought that was what I would take away from last night. Is although Liverpool went behind and things weren't as great or as fluid as they have been for the previous months in this season, I felt like there was a period in the game where Liverpool almost had a word with themselves or with each other. I went, this is not our standards. The cop didn't have to tell them that, even though there was a number of people in the ground not letting Liverpool's standards slip. I thought the thing I would take away from that last night is just that the players are like, this isn't good enough, we need to sort this. And as soon as they got that second goal, you just knew they were going to get the third.
Maybe, and I've thought this from, maybe we're too close to appreciate just how good this Liverpool side is. Let's just put this into context. We went an entire season last year with only one league defeat. We just won 18 on the spin. We'd won 17. This is off the back of winning 17 on the spin and dropping 2 points at Old Trafford. Mm-hmm. That's incredible. That isn't a normal football
side. And
we're
European champions and world champions.
European champions, world champions. And this isn't just a flash in the pan. We've done this last season. We pretty much done this and lost one league game in an entire season. We've done 17 on the spin, dropped 2 points at Old Trafford, and then we've done 18 on the spin. This is a special football team. And I think you're right, maybe we just need to wake up and realise just how fucking good we are.
I think that is it though. You nailed it. You said you're too close to it. It's when you watch your historical competitors. So I watched Everton.
Well, look how Barcelona were lauded. Barcelona were lauded. City when they won 18 a couple of years ago.
They weren't pulling runs and records off. City had a good old go, but I mean, this is to keep pace with them where they've gone 190 and then 98 points, and then we get 97, but also win the Champions League. To then come into the season, as you say, and then go completely unbeaten, only dropping 2 points. It's unprecedented. I don't think anyone knows how to react to it because it's never been done before. It's wild, but I don't want us to take it for granted because these are the best days of our footballing lives for sure. But I do appreciate that with our crowd. I think once you're seeing this for what is now a long period of time, when we drop off a bit, it doesn't matter whether you're 8th and you drop off a bit, you still notice a drop. So I still think people were almost right to have a bit of a go at Liverpool last night because they were playing within themselves a bit.
Imagine what happens when we start playing well.
Well, this is it. Carragher was saying last night about us, when we don't blow teams away, and Mike's obviously referenced that there's so many tight wins by one goal or whatnot. This Liverpool team has got another gear. You've seen it before, especially in an attacking sense, where I don't think we've looked at our attacking best for probably 2 seasons, but we're more consistent. So it's give and take, isn't it? But we can really up the year where we had Maribor in the group and we were putting 7s past them and stuff, and 4 past City. We don't really do that anymore, and there's more of a unit that's organised. And so, don't get me wrong, I much prefer the results of this team, but Liverpool have got another gear, and I think that's the thing where people are going, well, how can we even better this next season?
Well, the last time we didn't score is Everton. Yeah. 0-0 at Everton is the last time we're not scoring. That's it. That's March 2019.
The entertainment is something that might come back a bit more with Liverpool. So the foundations are being laid now for even greater things, and that's mad to think about. But I think just in terms of the aesthetic, that's the only thing you could maybe nitpick at now and go, we used to look a little bit better going forward, or we were quicker, more intense.
But did you not see that gear though in the when we were chasing the game last night? I still think that they're still capable of it.
That's when they're willing to make a sacrifice at the back, and that's sort of what I'm driving at.
But now they've got Alisson.
We are the perfect unit, and you can rely on him, and he makes that save last night as well, doesn't he? Which, again, you start taking them things for granted. Not many goalkeepers are doing stuff like he's doing. It's wild.
You can point to the Leicester game, can't you? Leicester 4-0, Boxing Day, where it's absolutely needed. This needs to be a dominant display, and it was.
Yeah.
And then the 4-0 after the second half against Southampton. Good team. Had a good goalers in the first half, and we just rolled out and did the 4-0 like it could have been just the easiest thing in the world. So we definitely possess it. So it's just dead positive that we can still do that, and we'd like to see it every week, wouldn't we? But then we'd probably get nitpicking saying why isn't it 5? Why isn't it 6? I
was going to say to you, Mike, I think when we're talking about the steeliness and the drive, and that is what we're talking about, rather than sort of champagne football at times. That steeliness and the drive again last night comes from the fullbacks. So both of them, Trent sets up 2 goals. He sets up an offside goal, which would have been a brilliant goal had it been allowed, but it wasn't. It was chalked off, and rightly so, and all the rest of it. Robertson setting up the other one as well. But Trent in particular, 21 years old, and he's dominating football matches in the Premier League on his own. And again, it's almost the being too close to it to appreciate what you've got right in front of you. So it's 12 assists in the Premier League now this season for Trent, second only to De Bruyne, who's got 16. Since the start of last season, he's got 24 assists, which is 6 more than De Bruyne and Andy Robertson, who are in joint second. And then also when you think about sort of players that are reaching this level at this age, so I've nicked this from Henry Winter in the Times. Henry, you obviously listen. But only Fabregas, 20 years old and 134 days. Wayne Rooney, 21 years and 63 days, have reached 25 Premier League assists at a younger age than Alexander-Arnold. Now that is absolutely wild when you think about what their positions are, what his position is, and to achieve this level over and over again. And what I love about him, and he was doing it last night, and it's backed up by the stats, a lot of things don't come off, and that's fine though. Do you know what I mean? Because I think we live in this sort of stat-driven age. And I remember Gerrard talking about this once, where the players all know this. They know we talk about it. They know analysts talk about it. They know it's slapped all over the television and all over newspapers. And some players, not saying any of ours right now, but some players in the past, some players in other teams will play safe knowing that their every stat is assessed.
Stat pattern, basically.
Whereas Trent knows. Trent's not asked. Trent's like, I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to keep whipping balls in. I know that if we keep putting that quality in those areas, we'll score a goal. And that in itself is a confidence and a brilliance which we should be appreciating probably more.
On the back of the Atletico game as well, where he's criticised for not maybe being at his best, his balls into the box weren't the best against Atletico. But he kept trying. Never came off for him that night. He does it again last night. Comes off for him. It's staggering. Like he's already matched. He said he's got 24 assists. So that means he got 12 last season. He's already got 12 this season with 11 games to go. Mm-hmm. It's phenomenal. Like, there's a lot of talk about like moving him and that. I think he's 21. I think Klopp is never going to move him from where he is at the moment, while Klopp's here, he'll always be where he is at right back, just because the system we've got now dictates Robertson on the left, Trent on the right, and they're young enough to be able to do 5-10 years easily before you can like bother about moan about replacing them.
Well, he might change the trend. Trent, he might move further forward as he gets older. And I mean older, I think while he's still got his youthfulness and his legs, I think we can be a bomber on right back. But there's a time in his career where he might start losing his legs, and then he can go and play midfield where he's less dependent on pace.
There's an interesting one here. I saw it from a couple of weeks ago, and I assume it still stands because it was taken an average. But if you look at where Trent's assists are coming from, they're pretty much in the same area that De Bruyne's getting his.
I've seen that as well, yeah.
Which is wild when you think about it. The fact that he is essentially a right fullback, and he's affecting the game in those areas. Just to have the confidence as well. But the cross for Wijnaldum's goal, I only watched it back properly this morning. It's Beckham.
Does he feign to let it go out as well, doesn't he?
Even the way he sets himself, because he's not even looking in the box. He's almost, his face is looking at Beckham had this thing where he was basically shoulders straight on to the goal, and he whips it, and because his shoulders are in that position, you can get so much whip around the ball. It's just unreal. I
don't want to take away from Trent here, but I think the fact that so many are preoccupied with Mo Salah really helps him, and that's credit to Salah and me not taking anything away.
He's still
from
got to make the most of it, though.
Of course, absolutely, and the fact that people have got to be so aware, fullbacks have got to be so aware of Salah's presence as a forward and Trent, and because he's coming from deeper, he can either arrive later or whatnot. People are so preoccupied with what Salah's doing that it's a forward and Trent's that little bit of that pocket of space where you'll see on a heat map or wherever where he's getting balls in, and that's not going to go away. But the minute you move him further forward is the minute you lose that, because instead Salah would be tucked in or whatever, and then a fullback would be occupied by Trent. I think it'd be the stupidest move we'd ever make to move Trent. If you're running games from right back and your 3 forwards can then occupy the defenders, you've got a perfect win, haven't you?
Yeah.
And while he's getting these numbers, and you're saying they're in De Bruyne-like positions, but maybe not as heavily marked, then keep going until someone finds out a way to stop it.
It's like the Rafa small blanket thing, isn't it? It's like where you're throwing that blanket, so you might be throwing it on Salah or Firmino or Mane, but then the fullbacks get the space. And if you decide to mark the fullbacks or try and stop the fullbacks, then someone else has got space. And it's like that's the brilliance of Liverpool right now, that there's so many threats.
That would be the way, if I was a manager, try and stop us, would be to try and stop the feed from the fullbacks. If we do everything through the fullbacks, I'm sure no Premier League managers are listening, but I'm not trying to give the game away. But that would be how I would start. Trent and Robertson are so integral. So you sometimes see one team go, well, we'll try and stop Robertson, but then you get Trent, and then vice versa. It's the same with Salah and Mane, isn't it? So yeah, it's a perfect balance, and you don't get that. And I think it comes through selflessness through a lot of what we do in midfield as well. So there's no. You see these mad teams of the years and stuff, and you very rarely hear about our midfield spoken about. And don't get me wrong, I don't think last night was their perfect game, but they facilitate the 2 fullbacks and the 3 forwards. And to be fair, one of the forwards is selfless as well, isn't he, Firmino? But just everything that's going on is it's for the greater good of Liverpool, where you see players like, I use Pogba as an example, where you can see that sometimes he wants the game to revolve around him, that at Liverpool won't cut it. So when you see Liverpool linked with even Mbappe's and stuff, I'm not overly, as much as I'd love an Mbappe at Liverpool, I'd like, well, could you come here and adapt to that mindset? Because that's what you want.
Yeah.
I want humility from whoever we buy, and I think that's what we've got in abundance.
And also play like sticking to a system and believing in a system, because the buy-in and the belief across the board, Mike, is what's getting us what we've got. Like, I heard something again, and I heard it elsewhere on the BBC, but it was something on Radio 6 this morning, on Lauren Leverne's show. They have this like mathematician on, and she just talks about maths in an interesting way. And they were talking about footy, and they were talking about Liverpool, and they were talking about, I don't know if you've seen it, that, like I say, there is a piece kicking around somewhere on BBC iPlayer, it's really good, about the mathematicians behind the scenes that we all know about, that they're there, but they're analysing every single move, every single pass, the areas that Liverpool score from, what are threats, and they're just feeding that in to the footy fellas, if you like, to Linders, to Klopp, And so all this stuff, you know, like the way we eventually force a goal, the way we do get goals, the areas we score goals from is fed by fact, you know, fed by this information. And so you've got to have that buy-in to the system. And, you know, you might buy, like everyone, it's almost old school, isn't it? It's like the old, like when you were a kid and you were like, just buy all the best players, put all the best players in the best positions, and that's how you win. Well, if that was the game, we don't win that because we haven't got as much money as some other clubs and things like that. So what they've done is really, really clever and really, really good. And again, we've got to appreciate what we've got, but not just in terms of what we see on the pitch, but the team offer as well.
Yeah, the buy-in's massive, and it's everyone obviously buys into the system we've got now because look, the proof is in the pudding. Look at the table. If no one bought in as much as they do, I don't think we'd be as good as we are. And it's consistent now over 2 seasons, 3 seasons. He's never ever been beaten in a European tie at the moment as things stand. The 2 legs, never been knocked out. You know, we've got, let's be honest, let's go a good team. It'd be a hard test, but you've got the most confidence.
Bring it, you pricks.
Yeah, we've got the best confidence going forwards. I think the fullbacks, but the buying into it thing, that they lead it for me, because Robertson's signed and he's not played for a while. He gets his game against Crystal Palace, I think, his debut, and then he does well. But then no one sees him for a while, and everyone's thinking, well, why? But because he's
the same treatment as Minamino at the moment.
And Fabinho, sorry, we sign him, and people are going, where's he? Why isn't he getting a game? Then when he gets a game, he becomes the best defensive midfielder in the world up to his injury. Like, he was a bit ropey a few times when he came on, but once you've learned the system and you properly buy into it, you really get the rewards. And every player who we've signed, and look at Trent as well, he's a lad who's come through the academy, played midfield, played all over the place. No, you've been told, there's right back, mate. That's what you've got to do, this and this, and there's where you've got to improve on your game. And they've got the attitude, and it leads back into what we were saying before about the collective group not giving up. If they just nail the positions down, nail all the movements down that they're being told, you get these results. And it's credit to Klopp, who's not just I'll do it my way sort of thing. He'll listen to Pep Linders, you know, he'll listen to Peter Cravats and all the people behind the scenes. This is what we need to do. These are the best numbers. You've heard him say it loads. I'm only good at my job when everyone else around me is good at their job and making me better at mine. It's
a process, isn't it? I mean, you can see that now, and it's become self-perpetuating. So you believe in the process, and the process will bear out, and the results are bearing the process out. So you don't get it right so many times by being lucky.
Yeah.
You look at the signings that we've made, you look at how we play, you look at how we set up. It's just unbelievable, from Salah to Trent to Andy Robertson. And, you know, the off-the-pitch stuff is fascinating for me, because I always hark back to, you know, if you go back 10, 15 years, you'd have Harry Redknapp going, oh, you know, with signings, if 30% of them stick, you're doing well. I think our hit rate on signings must be about 80-90%, at least moderately, if not extremely successful.
Off, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that must stick out. As good as things are on the pitch, I think off the pitch, other teams must be looking at us going, how do we do this? You talk about money and signing the best players. You look at the state that Manchester United have found themselves in, and how much they've spent to get themselves in that mess. And their churn, their attrition, but the players that have come in and out, where they've spent 50, 60, 70 million in their wage bill. And it's just, I know we keep saying this, and I feel like I'm repeating myself, but this is the best time. Paul mentioned it earlier. This is the best time, and I think we need to savour it a little bit more. And I can't wait to see what happens next. I can't see I don't believe for 1 second anyone at Liverpool thinks this is the finished product. No, not by a long shot.
It's not just even on the pitch, is it? I mean, the benefits of longevity in terms of a manager and a shared vision, which is what we've.
But the results are reinforcing everything.
Yeah, of course they are. Yeah, and this is why at board level, if Klopp says I want this, well, he can turn around and go, listen, lads, I've been beaten once here in about fucking 10 years or something, however long it is. But it's the training ground, it's the new Anfield Road stand, it's the deal with Nike, it's becoming the biggest club in the world again, and where we truly believe we could have always been. But did we ever have a visionary? Did we ever have someone who was ever going to take it there? There was always, you know, we had to go with Rafa, but there was so much infighting between fans, between owners and stuff like that. It's harmonious. It's the part of it being the best time is that even a grumble on the Kop is met with disdain from other fans. He's like, lads, what are you doing? You know, have a look around you, and that's why we're talking about it now, that because this is, you know, as good as it gets. And the only thing you could say is, I'm saying it's as good as it gets, but I'm looking at things in the future going, well, that they're designed to make it better, or at least keep it at this level. Whereas Brendan Rodgers 13-14 is probably the funnest season of my life, one that I'll always look back as enjoying the most nights out. But partly because we were a bit shit, and it was unexpected. It's unexpected, and it was built on sand, and no one ever thought at the end of 13-14, despite us finishing second, that we were going to go again. There was nothing. You lost Suarez. There was no way really he was ever going to stay. He was too good for the club. Where now you look around Europe and everyone would like Sadio Mane, but where's he go? Well, that isn't a step down from Liverpool. And you used to see the only place from Liverpool is down. That's bollocks. Look at Javier Mascherano. One of the players I was most devastated to ever leave. When he left Barcelona, there was like some tweet that they put out about what he'd won there, and you go, well, the only way down wasn't from Liverpool, wasn't down, was it? It was up because he won all them titles in European Cups and that. Now, could be 3 European Cups and a bounce, Premier League champions, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, the only way from Liverpool now is down, and that is why it's the best time.
I think that's why it's important to stay ahead and invest. I was only talking to my dad about this the other week, and you look at Liverpool and where, you know, we tried to trade on our history and our reputation. I mean, I used to fight, so I'm referencing Man United and Arsenal. I remember 10-15 years ago, everyone thought Arsenal was streets ahead of everyone, and it'd last forever, and they had this brilliant new stadium. This new stadium, it's now being bemoaned because it's not Highbury. And Man United had the mega stores and the websites, and Liverpool were the last team in the league to have their own official website, which I find absolutely crackers. But we were resting on our laurels a little bit. And this goes back to not taking it for granted, because this might not last forever, because football invariably moves in cycles, and we need to stay with it.
That's why Virgil's tweet was great. I mean, it is the continual looking forward as well. I mean, it's, you know, look, I'm me as a fan, and I'm not involved in the club, and this is probably why. But, you know, like, even like, you know, it's really positive, Mike, obviously, like we're all saying around the table. But, you know, I'm sitting there before and I'm thinking, okay, so we've got 79 points, 12 more points that guarantees us the title. And then I was like, so hang on, we can win the league with 91 points, fuck's sake. You know, I'm starting to think about last season again, thinking 97 points and only one defeat, and it's not enough to win the bastard league. And we've won it this time, and it's all right. I don't need to keep on banging on about the past. You've got to look forward, and that's what that's what the best sportsmen do. That's what the best minds in the world do in general. They don't continually hark back to the past and be held down by that. They look forward. And you think about what Klopp said on his first day. He talked about exactly that, about harking back to the past, wearing the past as a backpack and all that kind of stuff. We stopped doing that, or they have anyway. The fans might still do it. There might still be people in the ground who still do it, but the players aren't doing it. The manager's not doing it. None of the staff are doing it. And what Andy's talking about, we don't need, yes, it's brilliant. We've won all these European Cups and all these titles, and it's all celebrated, and Shankly and Paisley and all the rest of it are celebrated around the ground. Rightly so. It shows the standing of the club, but you've got to operate in the here and now. You've got to compete in the here and now, and we're doing that, aren't we?
He was asked about his legacy the other day, Klopp, and I seen him say, "Look, that's not for me to say. This is for me to look back at when I finish." He says, "I'm by no stretch of the imagination have we finished here yet." Last season was brilliant, wasn't it? Like we've all got the memories of last season, so have they. But their job, day in day out, is to get up and do the same again today, do the same again tomorrow, do the same again the day after, and keep doing it so we can still keep feeling these. It's just boss to be a part of, and the fact that we don't think there's an end to it somewhere along the line, because football is like cyclical, as Andy mentioned. It goes in cycles. It will end at some point, but everyone's job at the club at the moment is to keep it going for as long as possible. The likes of Harvey Elliott we've signed there, you know, he's probably one of the best young kids that everyone was chasing. He's thought, you know what, I'm going to Liverpool because Klopp is giving kids who are my level of football at the moment a chance, and then that'll be how I get better. So if everything is perfectly in going in the right direction, and once everything's in the right direction with anything, it's hard to stop, and you can make mistakes along the way while you're still doing things in the right direction, and it's easier to carry them. You can't make mistakes when same with Paul mentioned before, the 13-14 one. we were never keeping Suarez. The mistake was not replacing him properly. It feels to me, if we did lose a player in this setup at the moment,
we wouldn't sign Balotelli.
No chance.
Yeah, but we'd have also got Alexis Sanchez now, and that was what we were going for. That the club now are looking. You see, there's no smoke without fire. Clearly, one of Werner or Sancho is on the radar for the summer. But it could be both. Liverpool have started to rebuild. Minamino was the first one where you think, well, with Harvey Elliott as well, is one where they're looking to the future and going, okay, well, Salah and Mane are this now, but how do we keep this going? Is it through Werner's? Is it through Sancho's? How do we? Our front three is what we've built this team around. Well, we need one for the future, and we need one at the top level. And while our stock's super high as it is now, then we go and get the best young strikers in Europe. And if that ends up that we go and get both, even if one goes back to the parent club for a year or something, why can't Liverpool do that from this position of strength? Because I think we apologise sometimes, like, what would you do if we had all this talent? Well, all my life I've looked at Bayern Munich and Real Madrid sides who've had benches full of pure talent. Well, don't apologise for that. That's what being top of the pops is all about. You know, you have 8-9 superstars that can't get in the team, and that's how it is, and that's how you become a team that doesn't just win one title. And if you look at what the Monday Night Football lads were talking about last night, it's about winning 3 and 4 titles, and this is how you do it, is through pure quality and also taking tough decisions. So if at 28 or 29, that's when Liverpool decide to move on Mo Salah, but it's because they've got Timo Werner knocking at the door, for example, then sound, as long as there's a plan. Let's not get to a point where we're a year without and we make do, because you won't win a title without your top class.
Do you want to be the pantomime baddie now after all that good stuff?
It wouldn't be the first time.
Are you ready? I just think we've got to bring it back to the match last night, because we've done a lot of general Liverpool being boss chat there, which was fantastic, by the way. But first half last night, well, as soon as you see the team, we've been talking about it in the build-up, saying this is Keita's big chance in midfield. I thought he was quite bright initially, but then faded quite badly, and obviously he gets the hook. And in terms of taking this particular chance, well, he didn't, did he? And obviously we immediately see an impact from Oxlade-Chamberlain and a difference when he come on the pitch, in that he's having a shot within seconds of coming on, he's carrying the ball within seconds of coming on, and that sort of positivity that he immediately brought lifted the crowd. And Keita, I thought, body language, not surprisingly, when he went off, he looked disappointed in himself. Do you know what I mean? He knew how to.
Well, he should have been, because you're right in everything you're saying. Jordan Henderson's out for a couple of weeks. There's your opportunity, lad, to establish yourself. He's definitely got the tools to do it. We spoke about mentality monsters. I didn't feel last night he fell into that bracket, really. It was, every time he touched the ball, I felt like he slowed us down. I cried for Naby Keita at Atletico Madrid, and I couldn't believe he didn't see minutes. But the problem with him was, I don't think Oxlade-Chamberlain's been in the best form of his Liverpool career recently, but he comes on and he makes such a huge difference that going to Watford at the weekend, you'd imagine there's only one choice who starts. And I think everyone who's a Liverpool fan wants the best for Naby Keita, but when you're presented with opportunities like he is last night, where there's no Jordan Henderson, you've got to come in and shine. You've got an opportunity to against a team that's in the bottom 3. And he didn't do that, and it's disappointing, because, as I said, he has got all the tools to be a top player. You know, he started adding goals to his game. I think there's bits I've seen that I really like, but you can't be, this Liverpool side doesn't accept 9 out of 10 one week, 4 out of 10 the next. You've got to be consistent, and even if that's 7 out of 10 every week, then fine. But you can't have these peaks and troughs that he's having. His problem is his lows are very low at the moment, and it doesn't make me doubt his future, but it makes me more concerned that it'll never happen for him in terms of being the number one guy in midfield like we all thought we were going to sign. Because truthfully, I don't think Oxlade-Chamberlain should be getting a look in if Keita's playing his best, but that's not what we saw last night. Far from it.
I've got a little bit of sympathy with him, and there's a specific incident in the game where I've got it. I mean, I think you saw what he's good at in the build-up to Liverpool's first goal, and I think when he's playing well, he's got his tail up, everything just comes naturally. I think if he has a bad 10 or 15, it weighs on him a little bit, and then he tends to slow it down, and he kind of doubts himself. And And I also think it could be a little bit stronger, which is mad because he's been here for a couple of years. And the specific incident I'm referring to was about 30 seconds, or maybe even 20 seconds before West Ham scored the second. There was a 50-50 right on the left, to the left of the centre circle if you're looking at the cop. Now, I'm not saying he should have gone in 2-footed or anything like that, but he never looked. He was kind of leaning back when he went in. I haven't seen it back on the telly, but you know, you can tell before a challenge is made who's going to win and who isn't, and who looks confident making that. And he kind of ducked it a little bit for whatever reason, and then in the same passage of play, West Ham end up scoring. And I think it was a reactive. Jaeger might have been thinking about making a substitution anyway.
I mean, I've never seen him move so fast to make a substitution.
No, but I think I think that might have nailed who he was going to bring off, because sometimes, as much money, and it's all hearts and flowers, and aren't we great? Sometimes you need the stick as well as the carrot, and to me that was like, look, like you've got to sort this out. And even if essentially comes off, puts his arm around him, and goes, just back yourself a little bit more, lad. Because he's definitely, as you said, he's definitely got the ability, and there's a player in there.
That's what's most frustrating about it.
It's harnessing that.
It's when they've got the ability that annoys you most. Yeah. So sometimes you can get behind footballers with all effort.
But I don't think it's lack of effort, though. I don't think it's lack of effort.
It's not lack of effort. I mean, I've got a stats in front of me for last night.
You won the ball back quite a few times, didn't you?
Yeah, exactly, Mike. And you know, but what you want from Naby Keita is goals, is assists, is a moment of magic, and that's what he's in the side for, really. And like, you know, when I see him as far forward as he was early on, I thought, here we go, we'll see the Naby Keita show here. And then it never turned out that way. But you know, like I say, you look at his stats on the night: 51 touches, 35. Accurate passes, which is 89% of the passes. He tried 2 of those were key passes. No shots though, obviously no assists, as I say, but he won 8 of his 12 ground duels, and he won his only aerial duel. So he was winning the ball. He put 5 tackles in as well, which is a fair amount in a game. It doesn't sound a lot, but when you compare it to everyone else, it's a fair amount. So he was definitely grafting. He was definitely trying. Just the stardust wasn't there, and when you paid £52 million for a midfielder, you're expecting some stardust, aren't you?
Yeah, I feel sorry for him, to be honest, because he was starting to put a run together, wasn't he? Him and Salah linked up well, the Bournemouth away game, and then he gets injured again. It's just a lack of consistency in fitness and performance that's probably dent his confidence, and football is a confidence game. People play well, you can take confidence from it, you'll play well again. He needs all 3 of the consistency, you know, the confidence and the fitness to make a player that we all expected and thought we were getting, and undoubtedly will be a really good player if it's all there. I think I seen David Lynch was done a piece saying he
got pelters for that.
But per 90 minutes when he's played, he's ahead in the XG, and like he's making more key passes.
Yeah,
but that's a small sample size of 90 minutes to likes of Henderson, Wijnaldum. You know, even Chamberlain at points at this season. Chamberlain's probably got more. Feels like anyway. Chamberlain's got more minutes on the pitch than Keita. He's obviously a good footballer. I think he just needs to do it often and repetitive, just so he can build his own confidence up and the team can get confidence in him. He's obviously, look, they obviously trust him because Klopp flashed him in loads and he backs him. He just I think Andy's spot on. He needs to back himself, Keita more.
I think what you did see though was everything that you thought, you know, you can back it up with stats all you like. Watch the football match as soon as Oxlade-Chamberlain comes on, you get everything that was missing.
Yeah. It's just more direct, isn't it?
It was will to win, it was drive, it was energy, it was everything that game needed in the midfield that was missing. He came on and gave us.
And it was knowing that you should do that.
Yeah. And he's probably sat there for the 55, 60 minutes. And he sat on the bench going, "No, well, there's a chance for me here. If you're gonna perform like that, then here's my chance." And he absolutely took it. And listen, it could be the reverse conversation come Saturday that Oxlade-Chamberlain starts, doesn't take his chance. Keita comes off the bench and does all the bits. And this is by no way me writing Naby Keita off, but sometimes opportunities are presented to footballers that they have to take. He has to take them more often, I would say.
Just on the game, can anyone answer me this question? What's it going to take for a referee to send off an opposition player at Anfield?
And Mark Noble doesn't get booked in the first half and literally tipping Wijnaldum up.
No, yeah, and then when he then drags Oxlade-Chamberlain and think back.
And then he makes a tackle in the second half that he can't make if he's booked for the Wijnaldum tackle, basically.
It's absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. John Moss is a fucking disgrace. And I know we won in the end, and I would be saying this if we lost. It's an absolute disgrace. He can't keep up with the play. He's a useless sack of shit. That performance was an absolute fucking shit show. It actually took away. All right, it didn't take away the fact that the joy from winning, but it just seems to be this pattern developing where Liverpool can't get a penalty. Man United have got more, I think, double the amount of penalties as Liverpool this year.
Man United, Man City have had 20%, 27%.
How many times has Mo Salah be stood in the box and someone's literally pulling him down before anyone stops him? The thing going on with Salah is similar to the thing that went on with Suarez, when one season he couldn't get any penalties, and then once one referee gave one,
gets a pen,
he was getting them every week.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know whether I've viewed this wrong, but I think it was an absolute shit show from John Moss yesterday.
I just think the general standard of the refereeing in the Premier League isn't good enough. You're talking about the greatest footballing product in the world, and the referees are just not up to it. So I don't know if this is a training thing or what. No, we've got St George's Park there. What's going on there? Because all I ever hear is of big business conferences going on there and stuff, and not a lot of football. So I'd like to see if the Premier League, and there's more money needed in grassroots football, and there's a shortage of referees anyway. Get some money into referees and get the standard of them.
Right, I'll tell you what. To me, I think John Moss refereed that like he wanted the game to be a story, and we see more and more of that. Like, you know, let's keep it interesting, because West Ham were getting. I'm not saying he should be fair and balanced, but I would argue that West Ham got more of the 50-50 decisions go their way.
I think they're so desperate to not to be perceived as a homer that they're actually anti-homer.
Yeah.
The job of the referees to be impartial, and it's normally the top teams that feel the benefits of this, but I do feel at Anfield this season, and because we're winning every week, and as Andy says,
there's a psychological study which I always wonder about.
This crowd's not going to get to me, you know.
Yeah, how many of the referees know? I know about it, and I'm just a footy fan. And a study was done, and it was like, you know, the crowd has influenced the referees at Anfield, because that was just where that was the ground they used. And I always wonder, is that in the heads of referees, and how many is it in the heads of?
Like, I'm above that almost.
Yeah. So I'm going to, like, exactly what you just said, almost psychologically, even deep down, almost unknown, are they like, I'm going to be tough today, I'm going to show that I'm not influenced by the Anfield.
So it's even when the soft decision comes, it's often not given in our favour. The one where, you know, I think if it was a mid-table clash, they maybe get it or whatnot. I feel like it's got to a point where now they're almost trying to prove a point so much that they're not pro-Liverpool, that they become an anti.
Yeah.
So I think my general point still stands. I don't think the refereeing in this country is good enough. We've seen the only decent referee we had, really, maybe Bar Oliver in Clattenburg, go. And I know we've always joked about him being a red and stuff like that, but he was clearly the best referee in the Premier League. He goes to Saudi Arabia.
Do you think
if it means paying more, if it means, I don't know, making refereeing a more lucrative career, maybe on par with what the Premier League, not necessarily what the footballers earn, but more relative to it.
They need to be fitter. The standards of fitness need to be better. But I think
you'll get that through almost, even if academy prospects are coming through, okay, you've got no career in football, let's bang them into refereeing. People who've played football at a reasonable professional level, knows how to talk in the dressing room, knows how to talk to footballers, get them
There's
involved.
a thing though, isn't there, on this? I mean, like, I'll move on in a second, but there is a thing on about, like, who wants to be a referee.
I'm sorry for turning this that way.
No, it's alright, but you go all the way back to, like, your own childhood. It's like, you know, like, imagine someone you knock round.
But that's why there's got to be an incentive, hasn't there?
But there's almost a stigma around it, isn't it? Like, you know, like, the goons and the gonks, they're the people that go and be a referee. It's not, you know, it's not a cool thing to do, is it?
No, definitely not. And, you know, the lad who was the referee was quite often at school or whatever, was the worst footballer out of the other 22 people playing football. But as I say, like, I think if we're talking about this great Premier League product, which it is, the refereeing has got a match.
Yeah. Mike, I just want to turn it back to we got Watford at the weekend, and what we saw there. We've basically said, and we said at the top, and we said all the way through, that this is a victory almost born out by will, rather than, you know, a great display of football. There was bits and bobs, don't get me wrong, and they shown the quality at times and all that, and they shown this will right the way through the season. But are there any concerns there at all, Mike, about what we saw against Atletico and last night, just in terms of the rhythm being disrupted a little bit and it not quite being what it should be in terms of pace of build-up, in terms of aggression, that kind of thing?
I don't think it'd be normal if you weren't concerned about the way it sort of panned out in them two games in particular, Atletico and West Ham. But I think you've got to have all the confidence in the players coming out, Trent saying that, you know, we need to be better from set pieces. Van Dijk, they're not soft. They all know that this thing of set pieces now can easily become a narrative and things for teams to hang their hat on, like they did for so many years before. And before the Atletico game, you know, it's 100. I think the stat was 120 corners faced, 1 goal conceded. And the Atletico one's it's a second ball from a corner. Last night's was just a straight to Diop's head, and he scores. And you can sort of pick the bones out of it and say, Alisson, he gets a strong answer. It will probably be disappointed. But at the end of the day, it's now become a thing where Watford will be sitting there going, I tell you what, you know, West Ham got 2 goals there against Liverpool last night. We're a big side. We're going to get corners. We're going to get set pieces. And, you know, it's nothing new because that's what teams will have been. We're so good that teams will be thinking that anyway. It's just that as a fan, you will start to be a bit more concerned. And I think the players themselves now will be, okay, we haven't been great since we've come back at this aspect of the game. Let's fix that. Let's be more positive. Let's go forward and eradicate this from our game and the opponents from having any chance of thinking that that's where our weakness is.
And Watford will be tough, won't it, mate?
I think only if we let it, to be honest with you. I mean, they're in the bottom 3. We've lapped.
We've
lapped them a number of times. Yeah, definitely. But I was watching Match of the Day the weekend. The results haven't been good. Watford, they were definitely better than they were under Javi Gracia and Quique Sanchez Flores, but they're still not getting results. And I think if Liverpool turn up and do the business the way that I would fully expect them to, there'll be absolutely no contest. That being said, the set pieces thing is just something that will worry me slightly going into it. But if they haven't got the ball, they won't be able to score. So I quite fancy the Reds to steamroll them at the weekend.
We just need Virgil to slap his aftershave on, don't we, Andy? Because Troy Deeney's always distracted by that, isn't he?
Well, if only it was that simple. Yeah, did you ever get that bottle of aftershave for Crimbo?
No, I mean, he never told me, did he, in that interview? I asked him what it was and he didn't give away his secrets, did he, Virgil? Yeah. He just sort of said, you know, look after yourself and spray something nice, and he never said what it was, and I was like, lad. I
think, serious though, and funny enough, I only seen Bogdan was on the bench for, I think it's Hibs yesterday. Funny, his name's coming up because he was in goal. Well, in that fake game at Vicarage Road when we did get bullied.
Yeah.
And I think it's a testament to how far we've come. If you want to see a benchmark of where we've come from to where we are.
Isn't it?
Sorry.
It's mad to think that's under Klopp.
Yeah.
I forgot all about who played in goal that day, you know.
Well, it was definitely Adam Bogdan. Just how far we've come.
Wasn't that the character podcast as well? Where post-match, or, you know, like the next day, me and Neil had a debate, to say, about character and whether that counted or not.
But if you remember, I mean, it's funny now looking back at Troy Deeney's quotes about Van Dijk, because there is quotes around the time at Liverpool and they stung. Remember, we were all quite affronted at the time when I think he was talking about Skirtle, and he said, "Oh yeah, no, I love playing against Liverpool. You can bully them." And now it's turned that full circle.
He said that about Arsenal as well, didn't he? Not having bollocks. And now, you know, we're definitely not bullied. We've definitely got bollocks. We're top of the league. We're going to win the league. We've got the European Cup to come.
Exactly.
Atletico, welcome to Anfield. Great times to be a Red. Great show. Well in, boys. That was the Anfield Wrap. Sponsored by The Athletic in this circumstance. Get on that because it is good. Loads of good long reads about footy. Good stuff on there all the time, not just from the Liverpool correspondents, but in general. So check it out if you haven't done already. That has been the Anfield Wrap. Up the fucking Reds.